Welcome in, everyone. We're going to be starting in just a minute. Thanks for joining us. What's going on, Robert and Trevor and Darwin? And is it Elu? How y'all doing this evening?
Great. What's good?
Not that much, brother.
Doing well, thank you.
All right. It is 6:03, so I think we can go ahead and get started. Miles, please feel free to monitor whatchamacallit, the waiting room as we get kicked off. But welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Winston Wellington Wright, and I serve as Vice President of Organizational Development for Brothers in Public Health, and have the pleasure of kicking off tonight's focus group session. So you'll hear this throughout this evening, but myself, Miles, Aaron, and Omari just want to thank you all for taking out the time. We know we are all working professionals. We all have lives outside of the 9 to 5. So it's just important that you all have shown your commitment towards this work and towards our organization. This on the screen right now is a quick overview for the agenda this evening. So we'll start off with just our welcome, which we're doing now, some brief introductions. We will go into our strategic objective review. And after that, we'll have some time for questions and answer and discussion. So while we're presenting, please feel free to put any questions or comments in the chat. We all have different sections, so we'll all be able to respond at different times. And in terms of looking ahead, you all probably have, found out about us through LinkedIn or IG or maybe another social media platform or through your own network. And so this focus group is really a part of a sequential steps of things that we're trying to do in terms of really developing the structure and foundation of our organization. So this year, we kicked it off again. It's the last day of the month. We're doing the focus group so you all can give us some feedback on our strategic objectives. In February, so next month, we're going to be looking to announce that we are open for membership. The date is still be determined, but you all will have some details about what that looks like later on in the presentation. And then in April, we are going to have our inaugural Brothers in Public Health Town Hall. So this will be a virtual event. It's something that we're still planning for, but we are looking forward to getting all of these things done between the first quarter and the second quarter of this year. So it's a point that we transition into y'all. I see some good activity going on in the chat. And I just wanted to make sure we had some time to do a little bit of an icebreaker just to get to know you all. It's an intimate group. So I'm not gonna pick on anyone. But if you would like to, you can come off mute, come off your camera, you could throw it in the chat. But just share your name, where you're from, and what brought you here today. Why Brothers in Public Health?
So actually, go.
Hello.
Oh. Definitely. Oh, did I cut somebody off?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I'm just having difficulty with my camera. All right, cool. So what's going on, everybody? My name is Trevor Martindale, from Irvington, New Jersey, actually. So if anybody's from Jersey, definitely from Irvington, small town right next to Newark. If anybody needed a little bit more geographical help, I currently serve as the Community Impact Director for the American Heart Association in New York City. And so if anybody knows, tomorrow is the beginning of American Heart Month. So definitely, if anybody in your family has been affected by it, even if they have not, encourage everybody to wear red this Friday. So this Friday is National Wear Red Day. I lost the questions. Okay. And so why Brothers in Public Health? I'll be quite honest, I did absolutely see it on LinkedIn. And I was just, it's funny. It was kind of timely in a way. I saw it on LinkedIn. And I told myself, I was like, it's necessary. I always find myself in spaces where people don't necessarily look like me, and wondering exactly why. knowing that a lot of the work that we do is centered uh, in health equity, centered in ensuring that everybody has that equitable chance to live their healthiest lives. And namely, a lot of the research and a lot of things that we conduct in urban spaces benefit are to hopefully to the benefit of Black people, and in particular, in this case, at least when I'm talking about Black men. So why aren't Black men? Why aren't we coming together to lead that conversation? And so when I saw this all on LinkedIn, I thought to myself, this is excellent. This is kind of like a brainchild of my own. I'm like, I wish I could have thought of this. And so just by being a part of it and finding a way to support it, I know that I could push that forward and being another voice in the room. And hopefully the work that leaves this space does affect Black men all over the country positively. So thank you guys. I appreciate you for having me.
Thank you, Trevor. I'm from Philly, so not too
Okay,
far
okay,
from
for
North
sure, for
Jersey.
sure, for sure.
Mo Ruff, I don't know if you know who that is. He's one of my favorite rappers from Jersey, though.
Okay,
So
yeah,
yeah,
I've definitely heard the name before. So that's cool, man. Yeah. I think
that's
the
what's
last time
up.
I was in Philly, it was actually for like a Packers Eagles game. So
Okay,
I
I
did.
see you.
I definitely spent some time in Philly for sure.
Yes, sir. Well, we appreciate having you, Trevor.
Indeed. Thank you.
Who's next?
Good deal, good deal. I'll go next. My name is Robert Reed. I am in Michigan. I work for the Greater Flint Health Coalition. I'm a program manager there. Just actually wrapped up a federal grant providing economic supports in Flint. And really don't know how I found this group, but I saw it and I wanted to. My curiosity got the better of me because I understand how important it is for us to come together in unity with like minds and goals. And you guys are unicorns, and so you have a lot of there's a lot of good potential in things when you come together around something. So just wanted to see what it was about, lend any value that I can, and some lived experience. I'm probably the oldest person on here. Yeah.
Thank you, Robert. We appreciate you, brother. Definitely appreciate you being here. All right, who's next up?
I can go next. Hi everyone. My name is Dalwin Corsino. He, him, his pronouns. I'm originally from New York, from the Bronx, but I now live in Rhode Island. I'm a program coordinator for loan repayment programs within the Massachusetts League of Community Health Centers. So I work in Boston. I saw Brothers in Public Health on LinkedIn, and it immediately caught my attention. In undergrad, I was a co-founder of a healthy masculinity club. And so seeing this organization, just pop up on my feed really excited me to kind of get back into the work of building spaces for men and men of color, especially uplifting them and building community and networking with the other professionals. So I'm looking forward to learning more and connecting with everyone on the call and, future opportunities.
Appreciate you, Darwin. Healthy masculinity. I love that. Sounds very, very cool. Very
Yes,
cool.
and
All right. I think I know, and I want to pronounce your name correctly. Is it Elu? Elu? I know you put that you're updating the chat. Just want to make sure I'm saying that correctly. And no pressure, he might be. Okay, there we go. I see you just come off mute.
Hello guys, my name is Aliu Kebe. I'm from the Gambia, West Africa. I'm very happy to join this the Brother in Health, Public Health page. So I am currently a student at School of Public Health at the Gambia College. So right now, I don't have much to say, but I'm very happy to join you guys. Thank you.
Of course, Elu. Appreciate you being here, brother. It's very awesome to have the global connection. All right, so thank you all. I think we got everybody covered. So we now will introduce ourselves just a little bit. And I guess team, we can go in the order that it's presented on the slide.
Sure. Again, like Winston said, and we'll resonate this. Thank you all for joining us. A lot of work has been done in the background for the past year plus, honestly, and a lot of strategizing, trying to figure out how we're going to launch and whatnot. And we're really glad to officially kind of kick things off and speak to those who are interested and motivated in getting this work moving forward. A little bit about me. My name is Miles Davenport. I'm the president of Brothers in Public Health. I am a DC, Maryland, Virginia native. I grew up in Prince George's County, if anyone's familiar with that area in Maryland. But I'm really close to the DC area. I went to Prince George's Community College and then transferred to PWI, University of Maryland, College Park. Got my undergrad in kinesiology. Oh, we got somebody coming in. Undergrad in kinesiology. I was interested in pursuing physical therapy, but then realized that public health was much more broad. I can have more of an impact, and I just had more of a passion for this field. So that's where I'm at now. I'm currently working as an epidemiologist at the DC Office of the Chief Medical Examiner here in DC. And this is really my passion. I'm really driven to do this work. Some of my other public health interests include, it started off with, like I mentioned, physical therapy, but then once I learned more about public health and everything, grew an interest for tobacco regulation, health privacy information. But now I am really, in my career work is focused in data science and data modernization. Thanks for being here. And I'll pass it off to Aaron.
Hey everyone, it's so good to see you guys tonight. I'm Aaron. I am the VP of Research and Advocacy. Within that falls some policy. I am from I currently live in Greensboro. I did my undergrad at Appalachian State. I majored in biology and psychology, so a little bit of a far cry, but I feel like many of us have a pre-med background, let's say. And then I did my master's in health policy at UNC Chapel Hill. I think really that's when I started to realize the big disconnect, and the big underrepresentation of Black and brown men really in public health, because in my cohort, I was the only Black man. I think there may have been I'm trying to count. I think there were 3 other men of color in my cohort. And across different concentrations, we were among the most representative, which was bizarre to me, right? We're sitting in my classes, we're talking about health disparities, we're talking about marginalized populations, but the only people who are talking about these things in this class, because they're the only ones here, are white people. And it just, I don't know, it started to really take me aback. Currently, I work at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, which is a health foundation based out of Jersey, actually, Princeton. And I am a policy associate there. But yeah, I'm really excited to see you all and just excited for the future and to provide some space. I'll pass it to Amari.
Good evening, everyone. I'll try to be very short. Thank you all a lot for coming out today. This is the beginning of a lot of great work, and looking forward for you all to be a part of this work. Omari Richens, originally from Trinidad and Tobago, grew up most of my life there, lived in the Middle East, in Florida, in Alaska, and now I live in North Carolina. So I wear 3 hats. I'm VP Community, not community engagement, VP Community actually, for Brothers in Public Health, and we'll talk more about what that means in a bit. But then my other hat is I'm a program officer for a statewide health foundation in North Carolina, called Cape Reynolds Charitable Trust, really working to connect disadvantaged communities and nonprofit organizations to resources and networks so that they can be part of the change for health improvements within the community. A lot of that work is in rural North Carolina as well. And then my other hat is founder and CEO of the Public Health Millennial, which is an online platform that helps public health people learn, navigate, and transform their public health careers. And happy to be here with you all tonight and looking forward to more connections and more activations.
Right, and I'm last up. Again, Winston Wellington Wright, serve as Vice President of Organizational Development for Brothers in Public Health. So really helping putting together the structure of the organization. Originally from Philadelphia, but based out of St. Louis, Missouri. Graduated from Fisk University with my bachelor's in biology and Morehouse School of Medicine in my master of public health. So I had a chance to, spend some time with some brothers in public health for 2 years. And in bringing that HBCU lens to this work. And I currently serve as program manager of diversity, equity, inclusion for BJC Healthcare, which is a major healthcare system. Altogether, 30 hospitals now between Kansas, Missouri, and Illinois. So really happy to be here and get started with this work. We know we may have had more people who have joined since we started off the introductions. We are moving into the strategic objectives portion. So if you have joined late, please feel free to just put where you're from and why you're joining us today in the chat. All right. So thanks for that. Just getting that out the way for the good of the order. And it's time to get into the nitty gritty. So as Miles mentioned, we have been putting a lot of work forward to try to get us launched and off the ground. There's a lot of background story that you all may not want to be bored with tonight. But one of the things that we really wanted to do with our time this evening is show you all some of the core things that we're really focusing on as an organization in our first year. This entire year can kind of be looked at as a soft launch. And so these 4 things really only represent all of 2024. So just keep that in mind as we begin to talk about certain things. So want to start out with our mission and our vision. And many of you, Trevor, Robert, you guys already spoke to this. Darwin spoke to this as well. Why are we actually here? Why are we doing this? The 4 of us are all, early careerists in public health. We all have, similar experiences to you all. And when we were brought together, we started doing some basic research on just what the actual workforce looks like. So this graph on the slide is from 2022, and it represents all of the MPH graduates broken down by race and gender. So the dark blue is everyone that aren't men of color. So just let that sink in for, a second. When we're talking about percentage in terms of representation in terms of percentage, excuse me, all of these categories for these different groups. So Black men, Hispanic or Latinx men, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, all of them have representation percentages less than 5%. So when it comes to our mission, it's very blunt. We want to increase representation of men of color in public health to advance the field, culture, and awareness in communities of color overall. We all know the role that men play in these various communities anyway. As many of you said, a lot of the problems that are discussed in public health programs are centered around communities of color, men of color in particular. And so our first goal, our first objective, the ultimate reason we're doing this work is to increase that representation, whether that's in the workforce, whether that's through graduate school, undergraduate, this is what we want to do. In terms of our vision is a world in which men of color are positive change agents for the health liberation of their communities. I'm sure we all can get into a very long-winded conversation about the perception of men of color, specifically Black men, if we wanted to. And so with this organization, we are really also looking to challenge that narrative and to develop a new status quo for men in our communities. So again, as I mentioned, our strategic objectives for this year only represent this calendar year and what we're looking to do. So you may think that they're kind of basic. So we have 1, building awareness, and I will cover that and talk about what that looks like for us. 2, we have community impact. So really taking ourselves as practitioners and not only coming together to form professional networks, but also extending ourselves to the community and the communities that we serve so more people know, hey, we got some brothers in public health around. 3, research and advocacy. So really highlighting the issues, the public health issues that impact men of color and communities of color the most, and making sure that we're advocating for policies that are helping us realize health equity in these communities. And then the most important aspect of any organizational development or nonprofit development, fundraising in particular, is making sure that we have the kinds of financial capital that we need in order to really support some of the initiatives that we want to do going forward. So I will be covering building awareness. Again, as you all are, thinking about stuff, if you have comments or questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, take notes, and we definitely can address them during the Q&A session. So the purpose of this first objective, building awareness, is really to provide culturally relevant content that centers public health, targets men of color, really to overall improve, again, the understanding of what the field is and ultimately health literacy among communities of color. So when we talk about awareness, obviously, as you all kind of see some of the social media content that we produce as we develop chapters and come up with initiatives, a big focus is going to be highlighting health equities among men of color. And again, just making sure that people are actually aware. The second pillar, a part of building awareness, looks like really educating the youth on the public health educational pathway. I know for myself, I did not discover public health as a field, as a degree option until I was already in school. So imagine how many young brothers out there don't get that information if they never go to school or if they're not in an environment where they're just around public health practitioners. So one thing that we also want to do and be big on is showing people and helping people understand that this is an opportunity that they can pursue to heal and help their careers. And then the last two things, a part of building awareness, career opportunities in public health. So I'm sure we all could maybe remember, maybe we're still experiencing this now. It can be a little hard to get your feet wet, breaking in the industry, find a position that you really feel aligns with what you want to do. So that's another thing that we want to make sure people are aware of, how to really build your career in public health and offer that professional development that we think would be helpful. And the last thing is obviously marketing our organization and building awareness for Brothers in Public Health as a resource, as a support network for this future workforce. So that is really it at a high level. Omari is going to talk more about how the awareness connects to our community impact and some of the strategic initiatives that we look to execute over the course of the year, as well as how we'll be measuring our success. But all of this all together really creates a awareness feedback loop that we're really trying to build throughout the course of this year. But I'll shut up, and Omari, I will turn it over to you, brother.
And did we want to get feedback before we moved on, or did we want to go through everything and then get feedback?
Well, I figured, well, it depends. I guess everybody can let me know. We'll have time at the end, but we'll also have time now. So you all let me know.
Yeah, I'll hold any other comments until the end.
Okay, awesome. Well, we can move on to strategic objective 2 and around community impact. And I think when we present this, you'll hear like a lot of overlap in how we're thinking about the work and like the different initiatives that we're trying to do overlap in achieving the mission and growing these different aspects that we're trying to really figure out in this first year to become like a solid organization. So as Winston was alluding to, and myself as well, I had no idea what public health was until I was just looking for something to do after my undergrad degree, after getting rejected from 2 Masters of Medical Science programs. And I was like, oh crap. And when I got into public health, I still had the idea of going to medical school until I learned just how health disparities, health inequities worked. No one has ever like shared that information with me to realize that, hey, this is a thing, as well as this is a field that a field and a skill set that you can use like better the community and reduce these health inequities essentially. So a lot of our focus for the community impact is going to be around how do we get public health into the brain of younger people that are coming in to the workforce, coming into their collegiate careers, so that they could have maybe even a more streamlined journey into public health and more support into knowing like all the different things and facets that you can do in public health. So one of the things that we really want to develop this year is thinking about high schools, college speaking engagements. So that could be community college, that could be undergrad, that could be MPH, DRPH, PhD programs, but just creating community as well as awareness of public health, as well as us as an organization to really support the development of young professionals, of young Black and other men of color in this field and really develop that. And if you've been paying attention, we've been trying to be very intentional in our social media content creation as a way to get our community impact out there. And I just wanted to highlight the two pictures on the screen. So we recently we hopped on the trend. I'm a brother in public health, of course. Yada yada yada. And there's another one coming out soon, so definitely tap into that. But I think it was awesome, and we did not expect the amount of engagements and interactions that we have gotten from that post. I think on Instagram it has over 20,000 views by now, which is blows my mind. But very grateful that we are able to make this impact. But I think it just goes to show that there's so much awareness around not enough brothers in public health while we're always talking about issues that impact brothers in public health. And I think that that is one of the things that we're always going to try to bridge in our conversations and in the social media posts that we do to really ensure that people could understand and can relate to the different things that we face as brothers in public health throughout that journey. So that's going to be a big part of the work. Not only were the engagement really high on those posts, but a lot of people were sharing it and just sharing like love, 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 love to see this. We absolutely need more brothers in public health. We know the numbers of men of color in healthcare and public health are abysmal. Last year, the low number of historically underrepresented men of color in healthcare professions was declared a national crisis by the Federation of Associations of School of the Health Professions. This is a result of systemic and institutional racism, chronic underinvestment, and disparities in educational opportunities, lack of awareness about certain public health career paths, and bias. We need and appreciate you, brothers. And this is just what we're trying to create, more of these kind of conversations to say, hey, like this is a career path. This is like a workforce path that people can do to not only save themselves and their communities, but make an impact to positively impact brothers in public health. So I'm just like very excited to be able to create the content and definitely continue to engage with us. Follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram if you've not as yet. And one of the other things that we're really thinking about as we get more foundation as an organization, and love to see that many of you are in different places around the US and around the world, because we will need leaders in those communities that know the people in those communities so that I can really bridge those gaps and like say these are the organizations we should be reaching out and working with, these are the partners that we should be working with, these are the schools that we should be talking to, and all these different things. So be on the lookout for that, and we'll probably get some more feedback as we are launching these chapters. But just to create more of a brotherhood within your community while also having a broader online community so that we can have our impact. And a lot more to come as we ideate and create that. And then community workshops. We're not exactly sure what this will look like, but we're hoping for your direction. This could be things around like skill building, certifications, just professional development, or networking. And I think this will be tied kind of to the chapters, or at least that's how I envision it in my mind at this moment. But that's just kind of where we are right now as we're trying to build out more community impact and more understanding of what we can do as brothers in public health to create more and change that narrative so that when we do interact with high school students and Black men, young Black men, they're saying, you know, I want to go into public health. I want to become a health educator. I want to become a program manager, because right now I don't think that's a conversation that anyone's having. So maybe we can shift that narrative just a little bit. And that I think will be a big win for us, and I think move forward our community in a lot of ways. So I will pause there and I'll pass it on to, can't remember who's next.
Hey, also, I'll talk to you a little bit about research and advocacy as our third strategic objective, as well as some of the policy that would fall within that. So our primary focus on highlighting policies will be centered on healthcare access. So that's also inclusive of coverage, which aligns very heavily with the work that I'm doing at RWJF. Healthcare education and also literacy. employment, and then criminal justice reform. Um, and then within that, I just want to say, I think the heavy focus on research and advocacy is critical to actually amplifying voices at the end of the day, right? There's so much information out there. I see us as, of course, doing research, but I think also kind of like bringing together and articulating main points from the research that's already out there. I don't think we're going to necessarily need to reinvent the wheel, right? There are brilliant Black and brown public health professionals who are doing this research already, who are on the ground advocating, right? We want to make sure that we're partnering and that we're amplifying some of that information that's out there. But we also want to stay true to discussing the things that are, critical within our communities. And I think within policy, one of the things that we've been very attuned to is the fact that at the root of all of these systemic inequities is policy, right? And I think that's something that's easy to forget, right? Policy engagement is so important. Political engagement is so important. And so we want to make sure that we are engaging within that realm. And then also within that, maybe partnering with political organizations or political adjacent organizations that are primarily working on issues that are affecting like Black and brown men and communities at large. But very open to suggestions from you all as to like, partnerships or maybe like specific research agencies to look into. But still building out exactly how the research will look on at least organizationally produced research will look. And then also to Amari's strategic objective of community, once we build out those chapters, we really will be able to lean a little bit more on, more regional advocacy and research. So hope that provides some insight.
Absolutely. Aaron, if you don't mind, just wanted to add on to your actually one of your last comments there. In terms of organizationally like developed research, one of the things that we know we want to do as well is also like explore the workforce. Really get a climate check, a pulse survey check of, hey, of the Black, men, of the other men of color, of the brothers in public health, how are we doing? How do we get there? What does mobility look like for us?
Absolutely.
All those different things, right? So we've talked about, just how do we survey the workforce? And obviously we could do that now through the development of local chapters, but we definitely see some value in being able to do that as well. So just wanted to add that on.
And I think also to your point, like there's some organizations that also have some really rich information, like the De Beaumont Foundation does the public health wins research that has a lot of that workforce information. So we could create partnerships with them or some of the other organizations that are doing those things. I think one of the things that I think sometimes creates a fragmented advocacy base is just the fact that like you have all of these organizations that are trying to do the same thing, but do not work together and in fact work in silos. So I think that within our research and advocacy efforts, that's really something we're going to try to avoid.
Absolutely. But I think we got that covered. So Miles, I'll leave you on deck.
I appreciate it. I will be going over our development goals or plans as far as fundraising for our organization. So we have here, this is really high level. Just not to bore you all with the details, but essentially, of course, with operating any organization, you need to have some sort of capital. And we obviously can't do this work alone. But our three main objectives, at least for this first year that we're in operation, is establishing an operational capital so that we can be more sustainable in our work. Going back to our values of brotherhood, empowerment, wellness, health equity, scholarship, and professional development, we want to introduce a scholarship fund to help us achieve our mission of increasing the involvement of men of color in public health. Um, you know, scholarships help us achieve a lot of things. And, not only will this allow us to support aspiring young men of color to pursue the field, but it'll, alleviate that financial burden along the way. We also want to create a community impact fund, and this kind of ties back into our community impacts Amari discussed, as far as trying to develop chapters throughout the nation on different college campuses. In order for our organization to have the reach that we wanted to have, we need to have, advocates in the in colleges and universities in the community that are able to do the work. But we realize that sometimes that work can't be done without some sort of support. So we want to try our goal is to provide set aside a budget for these chapters to be able to activate, connect, and engage within their own community. One of my favorite phrases is, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. And so we just can't do this without the help of everyone involved. So the purpose of this is just, again, like I mentioned, to establish a sustained and a diversified financial strategy to support our mission and the growth of the organization. We have a few current financial things structured at the moment. We have options to support us through charitable contributions, but our goal is to also venture into partnerships, grants, launch our membership plan or plan memberships for the organization. And I don't know if we want to kind of dive into that now, but we kind of have an idea of how that's going to look. And we'll measure that quarterly. But again, this is kind of a really high-level overview of what we're looking forward to do as far as developing the organization to be sustainable. So if there's any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll go ahead and swing it back to you, Winston. Thanks.
Of course. All right, gang. So that is really, really, that's it in terms of our strategic objectives. So we can keep the slides up if you all would like to, just to be able to refer back to any slides. And we have a few, specific questions, I guess, that, we can all prompt you with. But I think we should just shut up because we've been talking for a long time. I'll stop sharing just for a quick second and see, if you all have just any initial reaction. How does that feel?
I like the direction and the focus that you all are going in, and my wheels are turning because there's some things that I actually have some experience with, and I want to connect some other individuals to the organization that can kind of help. And I'm excited about the future, what can come.
Thanks, appreciate that.
Yeah. Go right ahead.
I'll reach out to you after to connect with you.
For sure, definitely want to second that. A lot of the community building is very, very, very relevant. I think you guys have laid out, even from the 30,000-foot perspective, some of the things that are most necessary. Something that I do as an aside is I do work with a variety of college students around this particular topic and the subject matter. So having those conversations, preparing kids for the college level, also thinking about which college level and not negating or, neglecting a particular college level, working in the community colleges to ensure that people have a pathway and that they're exposed to new pathways is very, very important. I really like that idea. One thing I did want to ask to kind of just open up kind of the questions altogether. When speaking about membership, those local chapters, that idea right now is to have them within the college campus or sort of in a way led by citywide professionals or whatever the case may be. If you can be ideal, you can kind of be idealistic right now. Obviously, still hashing those things out, but just kind of speaking to that. What is the kind of the idea around the local chapters?
I'd say we foresee both. right? Because I think they're two different populations that are big pieces of the same puzzle, right?
Hmm.
I think on college campuses, we see more of that like workforce pipeline being built, right? And in an ideal world, right, some of those more local professional led chapters would correspond to
Exactly.
at least regionally the student led chapters, and there could be a mentorship pipeline within that. Because I think that's a big thing we're thinking about as well, right? I can say for myself, something that I struggled with getting into public health at first is mentorship from other Black men, because there weren't other Black men who I was within the same circles as to start out, you know? Um, and so we want to make sure that that's a part of this, you know, the relations that members have generally. But yeah, students and
Yeah,
professionals.
gotcha. No, no, for sure. I definitely envisioned. I just wanted to ask just to make sure. I was like, I figured that because there's some, like you said, in an ideal sense, you really want to have that synergy between the two.
Exactly.
It's so synergistic to say that, there's the professionals there, there's on campus, but why isn't that mentorship extended to those that are already on campus, trying to find their way? It opens up volunteer opportunities, internships, and all things of the sort.
Absolutely.
So that makes perfect sense to me. No, I appreciate you answering that.
I'm so sold on this idea, and as Trevor said and as Robert said, like I second everything that they just said. And I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with the Posse Foundation. So I'm a Posse scholar, which provides full tuition leadership scholarships to underserved youth, really, to undergraduate, to pursue their undergraduate degrees. And it's a national program. So, not just that program, but other programs that I've been a part of. I see so many outlets to expand the reach and the work that Brothers in Public Health is already doing, by just bringing us together here tonight. And then, in addition to that, I also just want to say, here even in the New England area, of the initiatives that have been spoken upon, like within community development, workforce research, understanding, getting a pulse on what the workforce is feeling, what they're experiencing on the legislative level, federal and state. It's all there. And we have in this country, we have a very fragmented healthcare system. It's the truth. It's the reality. So bringing all these resources and outlets together is the ideal way to advance this work. Because everything is so fragmented and it's so hard to find one thing, because you got to go to 100 different websites or talk to 10 different people to figure out what you want to know. So my question is really like, are there volunteer opportunities? How can, you know, the brothers in public health help? What can we do to support the cause?
Mhm. So I would say that, this is a grassroots effort. I just want to let everybody know that, right? Miles kind of got all of us together and was just like, hey, would you all be willing to do this? And we kind of use our social capital and our own networks really just to put a LinkedIn page together, develop a website, and start producing some content. So, though, when I say that to say opportunities are open. None of us are getting paid to do this right now. It's all, volunteer work. So, probably just give us some time to build that out. But we definitely will have roles outside of our roles as our positions as founders or VPs or whatever, right? There will be plenty of formal things that you will be able to tap into. So I said to say again, it's volunteer, it's all on a volunteer basis. But if you all are willing to, be that involved and that integrated, guarantee we can easily find something. Again, we're not really, all of this is slow. We're trying to do it with everyone so they really feel like, okay, I laid a brick in the foundation of this community. So there will be opportunities, more than enough. And we've y'all let me know if I'm talking too much. I mean, we've already started talking about just in the respective cities that we're in, what would chapter development look like, right? We're already tapping our respective networks to see if there's brothers in some of these cities that would be willing taking on this work. So not to jump the gun too much, figuratively speaking, but if y'all even wanted to do that, right? We could be looking at the president chapter for the New England region right now. So that's a conversation that we could definitely have. Just want to, share that 2 cents. I don't know, team, we feeling different or anything else to add there?
No, you summed it up best. I mean, it's all in the pipeline. Like you said, we don't do this for clout. We don't do this for fame. We do this because we're passionate and driven. We want to see change in the public health workforce and in our communities. So, this takes a community effort to get this ball rolling. And we're just strategizing, trying to figure out what the next steps will be. But we definitely are looking forward to scaling and growing and trying to figure out how and who is going to be there to help us do that. So yeah, we're figuring it out. But I mean, Winston, you said it. I mean, honestly, if there might be New England chapter president right here in this room.
For real. I did want to address Alu's question in the comments because I know that he asked regarding community impact with people like him, on the continent, from a distance. Is there any way he can participate? So, Lou, we have talked about that. We've actually gotten a lot of interest from the continent, particularly West African countries. So we know that there's a lot of overlap. I'm pretty sure many of us are big diaspora nerds. I know I am. I'm one. And so one of the things that we're just trying to do though is we really have to think about our messages and our content right now. Um, so in this first year, Lou, if you think about it, we're all in the US, we're all over the place. And so there's going to be some nuances even within the regions when we start really getting active and producing stuff. So we've talked about potentially a phased approach in terms of just 2024 really establishing what this looks like here in the States. And then in 2025, really trying to scale globally. And that may look like a chapter in the Gambia. That may look like you just potentially ensuring that you're a part of the leadership team in some capacity and we are paying attention to issues that are going on the continent. But team, I don't know if we had any other thoughts around that, but that's just some of the few things that we've talked about. So it's coming. We definitely are thinking about you all and want to make sure that there's opportunities for you all to get connected with us, even if you are in another country.
Yeah, I think to add to both of the questions. So one, I'd say in terms of volunteering, you're already doing that. Like the biggest thing you can volunteer is your time, right? Like it is so crucial that we are able to have conversations like this. We're able to convene, we're able to like talk out what the future will be. So yes, to add to what everyone else said, your time is already being volunteered and it is much appreciated. Um, and then in terms of involvement across across the ocean, I'd say one thing, at least from my perspective in research and advocacy, I really want us to be able to also be a connector for things that are going on globally, like global issue wise, to, our I don't membership and allies here because I think oftentimes there's so many things that are going on globally that are affecting Black and Brown people and their health that we just don't know about because we're not there. We don't have the context. We're not like in it. So I'd say that's a big piece of it too, is just, as we think through advocacy and what that looks like, you know, I see a lot of like opportunity there.
So this is a good conversation. One of the questions I want to throw out to the group, and I know again this is all just high level. What are we missing, if anything? Is there anything that you expected? And if there's nothing, it's okay. But is there anything that you expected to see or maybe hear today that we didn't necessarily kind of meet your needs or give you that fulfillment?
This is Robert. Um, I really think the only thing that kind of stuck out to me, and I think you guys had it under development fundraising, but I really think it needs to be a major focus um, because as I look over my career and some of the things that I've seen in the life cycle of professionals, It's always going to come down to you. We're all working in other organizations and doing things, but eventually we're going to get to the point where we're like, I really need to break out and do something for myself. So I think that we should actually start with that goal in mind and figure out how we can come together and create, well, include something with the high priority of this is ours, like with a specific economic driver, like because that's going to be the foundation of future sustainability, especially with opportunities over in the continent, in Africa, right? Right now, the growth that's going to be happening over the next 10 or 20 years is really going to be driven by Africa. And so the more we can set ourselves up to be a growth engine economically to support these things, I think it'll be one of the biggest difference makers.
No, I appreciate that, Robert. I think it's easy to kind of get stuck in the what are we gonna do and who are we gonna reach? But I think we had to stay grounded in the reality that we need money. So I'm definitely picking up what you're putting down. And I like that thought that it's really more so about sustainability for the future. I think that's something that's gonna be key for us to think about. So I appreciate you sharing that for sure.
And don't be shy about it. You know what I mean? I can tell you this. I know that, you know, based on my experience, sometimes it's you're not comfortable talking about the dollar, but I just saw something on social media that said by 2030 or 2040, the black dollar is going to account for, they're going to spend $70 billion in the retail space, right? It's not a question of we don't have the money, it's that we don't prioritize it and really have a strategy to allocate things strategically for the long term.
Well, Robert, I just want to throw out there, I'm trying to get white money. That's what we're looking for.
Trying to get what?
I said we're looking for white money, all money, of course, but
All,
jokingly.
yeah, all, all
Joking.
money is green. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's why I said the continent. It's a global economy. We can't be so local, even though that's where our mission and impact is going to be.
Absolutely.
It's really global. You know what I mean?
For sure. And it's
I think that's
Sure.
for sure exactly what Robert said, and thinking about development altogether. And of course, that dollar amount and that dollar sign is very, very important. I I was thinking about things that I've had conversations about, different impact funds that I'm like in touch with. That's like, this would have been perfect had I known about this like a month or two ago. I think somebody I referred was able to get a nice lump sum of money to contribute to their efforts here in New York. Well, I'm not in New York City; I live in Jersey, but the work that I do out in New York City. But what I did want to kind of piggyback off what Dolan said, it was really the outreach effort, and this may be a question that is very, very far away, right? Because it's kind of a cart before the horse sort of thing. Like, is when we think about the high school, community college level, how is that geographically? What does that outreach look like? How is that outreach happening? What system can you put in place to ensure that it's happening on the appropriate level and in appropriate areas? Or does, like I said, that cart before the horse kind of conversation, or is it, do you identify chapter leads and allow for that person to be, the person that's saying, okay, well, I live in New Jersey or I live in Massachusetts, and I'm familiar with the school districts, I'm familiar with the school system, having that already in place, and then deciding to do outreach. So just kind of, if you wanted to speak to any more depthly about what you think about that idea, what would be best, or what
Yeah.
you guys have envisioned.
No, it's a great question. And Aaron actually put a comment in the chat. The latter of what you said, Trevor, is really what we've been thinking. I mean, we've all had the opportunity to touch different cities over the course of our professional career. So it's like, all right, who is my homie that I know has his position over there, that's from there, that, has all the local connections. What we wanted to do and how we envisioned doing this, though, is we would kind of provide, here's the template, here's the toolkit, here's the email for what you send out. These are the metrics. So we're trying to hit 4 schools, within whatever zip codes that are, the most vulnerable or underserved. the promo, for pictures, all of that. So we want to really be able to build just kind of the structure of what that looks like for our members and then say, add your twist to it, go and do this in your respective cities. And then let's come back and show people how we're connecting to the youth. So that's definitely the way that we thought about it. The second part that you said.
Sure, for sure. Gotcha. That definitely sounds that's yeah, most appropriate. Exactly. I think you covered so much ground doing it that way and being able to have those conversations simultaneously and making sure that people all can tap in. And of course, just like I said, that genuine connection that people do feel. Where's that first introduction to somebody that is in public health? It's like, yeah, there's this national effort going on, but I too am that person that you can connect with that you probably didn't know before you saw me at a table or you saw me speak
Right.
at your school. And now
Right.
we can continue our conversation elsewhere and seeing that there's more to it than just, hey, I'm asking you to be a part of this. I'm asking for your membership, asking for you to sign up. I'm asking more than that. I'm asking you to be a colleague in a sense and
Yep.
really be down for the ride as it relates professionally as we all traverse that career path through public health. So no, that's perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
And I'd say we're aiming definitely not to be performative, right? Like, who am I as someone who's living in Greensboro, North Carolina, to be presenting to kids in New England? Like, I mean, I could, and it might even have some utility, and they may learn a lot, and it might even inspire them. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to be able to meet up with them for lunch or play basketball with them or do anything like that after
Yeah,
the fact. So, like,
exactly. Yeah,
why would I be the one who's going and doing that? And in fact, I feel like things like that have been shown to cause so much more harm, right?
agreed.
Because it's like you're building a pipeline without any support.
Hmm. For sure. For sure.
I'm not trying to dominate the conversation, but you guys are making me think of some things. I just want to give a real world example. Um, the organization that I'm with has a really interesting structure where they started 28 years ago. And the way the organization was described to me was as a neutral conveyor organization. So really they sit in the background and just really provide administrative support. And they'll just go out and identify people in the community that are already trusted, that they can kind of support and guide and mentor and build capacity around. And so the way that looks now is um, two things. Programmatically, as far as impact with the schools, we just did a program um, where we wanted to get in Flint, we wanted to get um, seniors and high schoolers together. So we created an event where we just had a school who wanted to get some of their seniors in a room on one day for a few hours. We put a program together and we just created opportunities for dialogue between seniors who had a story of survival and how they overcame certain things to younger people who are really going through a tough time, uh, just just a tough time, right? And so those opportunities were powerful and they're sustainable because you don't always have to put your hands on everything to make it happen. You know what I mean? If you can put the pieces together and create the environments, it'll go a long way. The second thing is from the organizational standpoint, when you're proving the concept and you're leveraging the right relationships and different things like that, the resources will come to you. So we've grown probably in the last 12 months because of strategic relationships over 75% year over year, like financially speaking. And it was because of the leadership and the relationships. And some organizations weren't doing certain things that we were able to demonstrate with efficiency and impact. Hey, we could do a better job. And the dollars are going to flow. And when that happens, people want to give money and support to what you're doing. So I just want to add that.
That's brilliant. I really appreciate I'm so glad we did this focus group. Because just calling out that capacity building piece, I don't know if I've ever thought about what we could do for individuals in that context before. So that just adds another layer. I think, and then also, Robert, I think you're really speaking to the direction that we wanted to go in as a nonprofit and professional organization in general. As Aaron said, our intention is not to be performative. It's actually the exact opposite. We want to be the professionals where it's like, wow, look at these brothers is really on the block. They really in the schools, they in the streets, like, whoa, like they really are extending themselves. And so everything that you just said really will allow us to be even more sophisticated in that regard. So I appreciate that feedback a lot.
I second that. Thank you so much, Robert.
My pleasure.
Do want to be mindful of everybody's time. We're at 8:02 on the East Coast. So how are we feeling? Any more comments, any more questions? There's a few things I want to throw out to you all. So as a leadership team, we meet every Wednesday. So we meet frequently to continue to produce, phase things out. I think it's safe to say we will be in contact with you all more frequently than you probably want us to. So let us know if you don't want that. But we're definitely going to follow up after this call. We'll send you all the slides. We also will send you the recording. Again, we'll be pushing to launch membership in February. Just a little preview. It's two-tiered system, so to speak. It's going to be $45 for students, $85 for professionals. But the first year, we are allowing students to give what they can. Minimum is going to be $5, but they'll be able to give what they can for the first year because we understand the struggle. And so we want them to be able to just join us, and hopefully that's a good marketing tactic as well. But yeah, and then we'll also have our first town hall in April again of this month. So if you we'll follow up via email, but in terms of just staying connected with the page and seeing us, LinkedIn and Instagram are our primary platforms right now. And yeah, Omari, Miles, Aaron, am I forgetting anything?
No, I think one thing I just also want to add to that is if you see yourself supporting Brothers in Public Health in a specific capacity, feel free to let us know. If you just want to be a member, do you see yourself being a chapter president or whatever? We're also looking into an advisory council. So just throwing that out there. If you're interested in supporting in any way, please let us know. And while we work together, we'll work together to figure out how we're gonna, again, move forward. But feel free to let us know. And again, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We really do appreciate your time and speaking up. So thank you. Go ahead, Omar.
Yeah, the only other thing that I would add to that is like if you know other people that would be interested in this or might be interested, like just share the presentation, share the recording, share the page, share their information with us and let us know like what parts of public health you see them like intersecting with brothers in public health, and we love to make those connections because we can't do all this work by ourselves. And I think word of mouth is probably the best way to get out and just share the work that we're doing as we build the foundation for the organization. So you're going to be key in a lot of the work that we're doing and getting our voice out to the other brothers in public health and our other allies, I guess, too.
All right, y'all. If there's no more, I'll let anybody have the last word, but I think that is it from us. So again, we'll send the recording, the slides out, and y'all feel free to actually reach out to us as well if you're having any ideas on thoughts on how you see yourself integrating into the team.
Sure, that sounds great.
Awesome. Keep up the
Absolutely.
good work.
Thank y'all so much. Really appreciated this.
Yes, thank you all.
Absolutely.
Thanks
Have a
for
good night.
sharing the space with us.
Yeah, thank you for sharing space.
You guys.
Take care, guys.
Peace, everyone. Thanks, Alu, for coming in all the way from Gambia in early morning. I'm guessing it is. We appreciate you, bro. And we'll definitely gotta make a trip out to Africa sometime.
Yeah, I hear the Gambia is like one of the friendliest countries on earth. So everybody says.
Yeah, definitely stay connected. Look forward to connecting with you in the future, Alu. Thanks again for coming. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay. Oh yes. Thanks, bro.